The Promised Neverland begins at the Graceful House orphanage, where 38 children between the ages of 5 and 11 live under the guidance of their caretaker, Isabella, also known as Mum. The children appear to live in harmony, with daily routine of breakfast, homeschooling, and outdoor activities like playing tag. 3 children, Emma, Norman, and Ray, seem to be the oldest in the orphanage and stand out from the others. As they play tag one day, they reach a small fence that they know not to cross due to Mum's warnings. They discuss what might be on the other side, and Emma is the only one who doesn't see a life for herself outside the fence, which surprises the other children. That night, the children gather to say goodbye to their sister, Connie, who is leaving the orphanage. After she leaves, Emma and Norman notice that Connie left behind a stuffed animal and decide to return it to her. They follow the trail and find a truck parked beside a strange brick building. Inside the truck, they find Connie's lifeless body and hear Mom talking to strange monster-like creatures about harvesting more top-quality children. Emma and Norman hide beneath the truck and overhear the conversation, realizing that the orphanage is actually a farm where children are raised like cats to be harvested by these monsters. Shocked and afraid, Emma and Norman decide to escape and find a way out of the orphanage. As they make their way back home, they come to accept the disturbing reality of the situation. The one person they thought loved them, Mum, is actually their enemy, and they must find a way to escape before it's too late. Meanwhile, Mum notices the stuffed animal on the floor and realizes that Emma and Norman were there. Traumatized from the events of the previous night concerning their sister Connie, Emma had a very disturbing nightmare that caused her to worry more and more about the safety of her and her siblings. As they went on about the morning routine, Emma spotted her mum, and she was struck by fear just upon seeing her act as if nothing disturbing happened the previous night. Norman noticed Emma was out of character, so he approached her and cautioned her to act normal as if nothing happened, encouraging her to wear a smile at all times. Ray noticed something odd about Emma and Norman, but just continued to observe. Later during the day, Norman and Emma met in secret to discuss what happened to Connie the previous night and why it actually happened. As they brainstormed through the activities in the orphanage, they tried to analyze and figure out how the abduction selection was made. This was because during the encounter with the demons that spoke to their mum, the demons made mention of high-grade meat, which caught their attention. As the day went on, Emma and Norman continued to crack on the theory on how the selection was made, and they finally arrived at the theory that the more developed the brain is, the better it tastes for the demons, which is what they meant by high-quality meat. Upon arriving at this conclusion, they felt an urgent need to hatch an escape plan as soon as possible before the next adoption in 2 months. They then proceeded to do some scouting and planning in the forest beyond the fence they were warned not to cross. Whilst they were planning, they were alerted by a sound of a bell signalling a roll call for all the orphans. During the roll call, one of the child was said to be missing, and without delay, Isabel pulled out a strange compass she used to track the child. Upon seeing this, Norman concluded that they all must have transmitters hidden in the body, allowing them to guess their whereabouts at any time. This meant escaping would only be more difficult. As dinner time approached, Mom happened to find Norman and Emma together, and she randomly asked if they crossed the fence the previous night, but the children did well to convince her that they did not. During the night, Norman and Emma went back into the forest to proceed with their escape plan, and in doing so they concluded that they had to let their brother Ray in on the situation. Before they could even head back to the orphanage house, Ray sneaked up on them in the forest, admitting that he had followed them because they had been acting out of character since the night Connie left the orphanage. After listening to Ray, they informed him on the situation and their plan around it. Without hesitation, Ray jumped aboard and gave his full support on the plan. However, that evening there was a new arrival in the orphanage, a new sister, but also a new enemy, Crone, and now he's sent to watch over them. A new set of eyes were on them. As this happened, it was clear that Mom was really trying to find the culprits without drawing attention, while Emma, Norman and Ray tried to escape without getting caught by the 2 nannies. However, they were divided over the method and whether or not to include all of the children in the escape plan. Emma, Norman and Ray huddled together in secret, strategizing their escape plan from Graceful Orphanage. They knew they had to be careful not to draw any suspicion from Mom and the new caretaker, Crone, as they suspected they were being tracked. The trio focused on locating and shutting down the tracking devices they believed had been implanted in them. They worked tirelessly trying to crack the case. Meanwhile, Isabella briefed Crone on her purpose for being sent to assist her Graceful Orphanage. She let her in on the fact that 2 of the children knew about the harvest and that she had a plan in motion for them. Isabella then provided Crone some documents containing information on all the children, which she was to study and know very well. Moments after Crone and Isabella split, Isabella received a call from someone named Grandmother, and they discussed the richness and quality of the children, especially from her orphanage. As this call was going on, Crone found herself in a private room, plotting a takeover from Isabella in order to become the new mother of Graceful Orphanage. As the story progressed, the children played tag with their siblings to strengthen themselves and to train them to escape. They planned to surprise their jailers by escaping in 10 days, but they knew they needed backups. They gathered Don and Gilda, 2 of Graceful House's oldest children, to put them in the know. After an intense game of tag as their training session with Crone, Emma, Norman and Ray became suspicious that one of the children was a spy from Mom, and they presumed that it was probably one of the older ones. Norman developed a ploy to flush out the mole, with Don and Gilda being his main suspects. Norman chose each of them the spot where he had found a rope that would help them climb the wall and escape. He carefully places ropes at each of the locations he had mentioned. If a rope disappears, it will reveal who the spy is, but before they proceed with the plan, they break the news to Don and Gilda that Mom is involved in human trafficking and that Connie has been sold to dangerous individuals. Don and Gilda are convinced and join in on the escape plan. Norman, however, keeps the truth about Connie's death from them to avoid arousing suspicion about Mom's involvement. His master plan is to tell Dawn and Gilda about the locations of the rope they'll use to escape, but in reality he is testing 3 people. He gives Dawn and Gilda 2 locations, but lies to Ray about them, and only Ray knows about the existence of the missing rope. Therefore, Ray is the spy. Norman now intends to deceive Ray and use him to deliver Isabella's information to the other children. Later on, we learn that Crone is pursuing Gilda to inform on Emma, Norman, and Ray. Norman's suspicion about Ray turned out to be true, and he confronted him about it after Sister Crone moved into the orphanage. Ray admitted to being the mole for the past 6 years, and Norman listened as Ray explained his reasoning for doing so. It turns out that Ray never experienced infant amnesia and remembered everything about the shipping and demons from a very young age. In exchange for spying on his siblings for Isabella, he received small favours on the promise of not being shipped immediately. Although Ray had been plotting an escape, he had yet to find the right time to execute it, but because he had always had his siblings' best interests at heart, he intentionally pointed them in the direction he wanted them to go in. His plan was for them to discover the entire human trafficking operation happening within Gracefield Orphanage. The night Connie left her stuffed animal, Ray encouraged them to catch up with Connie and Mum so they could witness the operation, and then he could strike a deal with them. Unfortunately, things did not go as planned when they left the doll beside the truck. Now that Ray and Emma are fully aware of the escape plan, Ray has decided to help Bob with one condition. He wants to trick Emma into thinking they can save everyone in the orphanage. However, this is not the case. Ray believes that the only way this will work is if they select a few: Emma, Norman, Ray, Gilda, and Dawn. Ray sees the rest of the children as dead weight and wants to leave them behind. Meanwhile, the children discover a secret room. Dawn's impulsive behaviour leads them to steal Isabella's key and enter with Gilda without informing the others. Emma then reveals to Norman and Ray a discovery she has made: several books in the library belonging to a man named William Minerva. Each book has an owl logo with a circle around it, and each circle contains a word in Morse code, such as farm and run. The children realize that Minerva is trying to convey a message, giving them hope for a possible human community in the outside world. Dawn and Gilda later find the toys of their shipped siblings and finally understand the whole truth. They confront Emma, Norman, and Ray and apologize for not having trusted them from the beginning, and all come together to make a plan to escape the orphanage. Ray goes back to give his daily fake report to Isabella and adds a false report that Norman plans to kill her. Isabella doesn't seem too worried about the report and instead reveals to Ray that the next shipment of children will probably include him, as he is turning 12 years old. Meanwhile, the other 4 children are ambushed by Crone in the forest, and she proposes to team up with them, catching them off guard. Crone reveals to the children that she too grew up in a similar orphanage, but since she was one of the most gifted girls, she was allowed to survive and train to become a mother. However, she remains trapped, unable to leave the quarters assigned to her. A tracking device inside her chest is programmed to kill her as she tries to escape. Despite her own desire to become a mother and live her best life, Crone offers to help the children escape, hoping to expose Isabella's incompetence, and then take her position as mother at the Gracefield Orphanage. The children have doubts about Crone's intentions but decide to regroup and discuss their plan on teaming up with her. Norman and Emma take the bold step of meeting Crone in private to determine she's genuine in her offer to help. During the meeting, Crone reveals that she can read their body language and knows more than she reveals. Although they test her by asking things they already know, the meeting ends without any incident. Determined to find out what the children are hiding, Crone searches for evidence to prove Isabella's incompetence. She comes across some pieces of evidence that she plans to use for this purpose. The next day, Isabella appoints Crone as mother in another plantation, leaving Crone with a newfound motivation to help the children escape. Things take a turn for the worse for Crone as she leaves the orphanage to meet her superior grandma for a new position as mother for the plantation, but she is ambushed by Grandma and their demons. Damn. Unfortunately, Grandma already knows that things are unstable at Isabella's plantation, but still trusts Isabella to keep things under control. Crone realizes that she never stood a chance, and to her surprise, she is eaten by a demon. With her dying breath, she hopes the children will manage to escape, survive, and change the world as it is. Meanwhile, Norman and Emma plan to investigate and act out their escape plan in the forest. They assign Ray to distract Isabella as they scout ahead, but unfortunately this goes against them as Isabella is one step ahead of them. She breaks her contact with Ray, locks him up in a room, and heads into the forest to see what Norman and Emma are up to. Upon meeting them, she and the children have a brief discussion. She claims that she loves them even though she has to ship them off, and suggests to keep living happily as before until then. Emma can't seem to take any more of her nonsense, so she attacks Isabella to give Norman time to climb the wall. However, before she can successfully land an attack, Isabella breaks Emma's leg with ease, as she tells her that Norman's time has come to be shipped out of the orphanage the following day. After their encounter with Isabella, Norman accepts his defeat and awaits his fate of being shipped out to the demons the next day. As they wait, Emma and Ray don't lose hope, and they try to come up with plans for Norman to flee and hide until everyone else is ready to join him for the grand escape. As they encourage him to partake in this last grand plan, Norman finally gives in and puts his all into it on the day of his departure. He successfully climbs over the wall in the forest, but to his surprise, he meets a dead end. Norman's will is shattered, and his reality is broken as he meets up with the siblings who expected him to have left a long time ago. He breaks the disturbing news to them that the dead end was a cliff, which implies that the escape was never going to be possible at all from the very beginning. Before bidding his siblings farewell, Norman requests a final meeting with Emma and Ray. He explains that he believes that there is a way around the cliff, reigniting hope in their hearts to pull off the escape plan. However, before he can finish explaining, Isabella calls for Norman to say goodbye to his other siblings. He thanks Emma and Ray personally and heads out to be transported to the demons. Norman crosses the gate with Isabella, but he is told to wait outside, and he meets his end. As the other children move on with their lives, Emma and Ray struggle with the feelings of sadness, guilt and depression. However, the other kids assume that Emma and Ray are just missing Norman. One night, Isabella approaches Emma and offers her the option of becoming a mother when she grows up, but Emma is disgusted by the idea and cries herself to sleep. As Ray's departure day approaches, he drops the pretense of sadness and confirms that he knows Emma has not lost hope for the escape plan. Emma and Ray come together to discuss their master plan. Emma reveals to Ray that the plan was never dead, and she had never given up hope. Instead, she focused all of her energy on distracting Isabella from knowing what was really going on, and to let Don and Gilda handle the planning and training of the other children in the orphanage, who are now also aware of the situation. Emma goes on to tell Ray that she plans on executing a plan the next day, which sounds like music to Ray's ears. He encourages her to execute it that very night by setting the orphanage on fire to keep Isabella distracted as she tries to put it out, allowing all the other children to escape without being tracked down. However, this plan to set the orphanage on fire also involves Ray setting himself ablaze. He plans to take his life as a form of payback before Isabella and the demons can get to him. After covering himself entirely in gasoline, he takes the harsh decision to try burn himself up. Just before he sacrifices himself as bait, Emma quickly dashes in to save him by neutralizing the matchstick with her bare hands. She then explains to him that she was aware of this plan to sacrifice himself because Norman saw through it and predicted it. She goes on to say that Norman had always been aware of this and wanted to make sure that this wasn't how Ray would have ended himself. In the heat of this emotional moment, Emma reveals to Ray that Norman left a better way of distracting Isabella. She directs Ray to cut off the air that holds the tracking device and to use that as the distraction. In addition to that, they can set up a decoy body by burning sausages, clothes and hair to replicate the smell of burning flesh. She explains that Isabella would be more concerned about retrieving Ray's body for the demons because he is next to be adopted. Ray agrees with this plan and cuts off his ear. He and Emma set the fire to draw Isabella's attention, and as she tries to put the fire out, Emma places a decoy to keep her more distracted, by also cutting off her ear where the tracker is and hiding underneath a bucket. During the escape plan, Ray realizes that the infants aged 4 years old and younger have been left behind. Emma made this decision knowing that no child is shipped or abducted by the demons before the age of 6. She promises to return to them and rescue them before they reach that age. As the children execute their escape and attach themselves to the other side of the cliff, one after the other, Isabella is fully distracted but doesn't give up hope as she starts to search for them. When they all finally find a way to cross over, Emma remains the last child to escape and is confronted by Isabella, bidding her a farewell. As Isabella watches them escape, she has a flashback of her past. Like Emma, she also grew up in an orphanage and had to watch her best friend get harvested. Unlike Emma, Isabella accepted her superior's offer to become a mother of a farm, which involved special training, including getting pregnant only to give up her child for the harvest. As the flashback continues, she remembers a young Ray humming a tune only known by her and her best friend. Surprised by how Ray knew the tune, she asks him where he heard it from, only for Ray to reply why she gave birth to him. This reveals a shocking discovery that Ray is Isabella's biological son. Isabella replies to the question by saying that she did it to survive longer. As Isabella snaps out of the flashback, she admits her defeat and hopes the children will succeed in their journey. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like and leave a comment. I'm making a Classroom with the Elite recap next, but if you have any other suggestions, please join my Discord. Look out and take care.